Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, a record, that's good. Another loss, not so much. Plus, the rumor mill heats up even more. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen to kick off your Tuesday. Don't forget, Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Joining me, as always, from the Crescent City, New Orleans, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling? Ben Garcia. You're muted.
Yeah, well, listen, different state, don't have any idea what I'm doing. Is it called the Crescent City? I didn't know that.
It is.
Should I know? Yeah, what I will say is it's this sounds so bad. I didn't expect it to be as pretty as it is. It's a very nice city here. Big airport.
There you go.
Ginormous airport. But
all right.
Unfortunately, this game, I mean, it's midnight over here. I am tired and I'm just a little frustrated that we went through overtime and losing.
Up. And we
still lost. And in demoralizing fashion, too.
Absolutely. 121-119 is the final score for the Phoenix Suns in Portland, losing another one to this Trailblazers team. They did force overtime. Some late game heroics got them there. But overtime didn't go their way. Devin Booker gets to the free throw line with the game in the balance. Goes 2 of 3 at the line after even to just get the free throws was one thing. Eddie Johnson on the broadcast kind of counting the chickens before they hatched as he was plotting how they could get things defended after that free throw didn't happen. But let's rewind, at least for my moment of the game, Ben. We'll get to Devin Booker breaking the Suns all-time points record, as well as some interesting buzz around Kevin Durant, which may or may not be real. But I'm going to go to the fourth quarter. I'm going to keep it a little bit positive for my moment of the game and talk about how they got back into it. They were down 99-96 with about 4 minutes to go. KD, back-to-back buckets, and then a block on the other end on DeAndre Ayton. And, I don't think Book scored the last 10 minutes of the game. They really needed KD to step up. Of the fourth quarter. I don't know why, whatever. I'm just kind of reacting in the moment, but they needed that from KD. And on top of that, they had gone small at that point. So to get the defensive difference-making play as well, he later had that block on the three-pointer also. Talk about how that small ball might have bitten them in the butt later on. But I do think going in that fourth quarter and, 27-21, they did fight back from being behind in the game and forced that overtime. And that stretch right in the middle, right as crunch time kind of began on both ends from KD when no one else was really kind of getting it done, I did think that was a big one. So that was going to be my moment. If they won, I'll keep it even though they lost and do a little bit of positive. What did you have, Ben?
That was going to be mine if they won, because in that moment, you also had the ball being scrambled. It was an offensive board. Kevin Durant picks it up. He goes and scores. It's 98-99. He then blocks the opposing team, goes down and scores again. And at that point, I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to win this game. For me, I mean, you could pick any of the last three, well, I guess technically 3 possessions because they got offensive boards, but pick any of the offensive boards, even the one to literally end the game, to Grant that picked it up right when Ayton missed it. Whether he meant to miss it or not, I doubt it. But the Grant one, both of the Ayton ones, I didn't understand going small against Ayton, who was 25 and 20 in that game. The Suns
And
have a
even
weird.
and some of the one or two of those even happened with Plumlee on the court. It's like even when they had a center,
Mhm.
it didn't matter.
Well, I just don't understand, and this is kind of what I was going with it, is they went out and they got Tyus Jones. They convinced him to come and take less and to come chase a ring in Phoenix. And then they never used him, or they don't use him properly. And they go get Nick Richards. And then I get it. He's still not even potentially a tier 2 center in the NBA. But I mean, come on, you got to give the guy some sort of leeway where he's coming into the game and playing in these big moments and going up against Ayton, where we don't have Royce O'Neal getting bullied against Ayton at times, who we know when his jump shot from the elbow is going, he is just lethal. Now that doesn't happen consistently. We know he has a different gear that he shifts into when he plays the Suns, but I mean, I thought they'd get one of these wins, man. Demoralizing way to lose. And that Blazers team is not a bad team anymore. I don't think it was like a Wizards loss, or I guess I shouldn't say Wizards, but like a Nets loss or whatever, a Grizzlies C team. I think it was a loss to a up and coming team. And I broke out something that you said last night. If the Suns just keep losing to young, athletic teams, teams that can just swarm them, I ever since you really hammered that in my head, I just couldn't stop thinking about it in today's game. I was like, man, I mean, should they even make a move? Like later on, we'll talk about the Kevin Durant stuff. I'm like, man, should they just move on? Like they're not getting any younger. And that's kind of what was going in my brain where, I mean, you hit it right on the money, man. Hit it right on the money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels crazy to say this, but when this Blazers team, one of the things about them is they just haven't been able to stay healthy for all these past few years where they've just been like a lottery team. Shaden Sharp's always hurt. Anthony Simons gets hurt. Grant gets hurt. But we've now seen in these two games the fully healthy version of this squad, and I just think they're better than, like, this version of this team is just better than the Suns. I mean, it sounds crazy. It's Portland,
No, they're better.
But the
They're
records
better.
aren't even that different.
No, they're well, that's because recently Portland's went on a surge. I mean, and you know that, but I asked you this question the other day, man. If we have Devin Booker's or Kevin Durant is 1 and 2, and I still believe that even after this mini series, if you rank the top 10 players, Beal is in there somewhere, but outside of Beal, Booker, and Durant, do they have 3 through 10? And you throw Beal in there at, I don't know, 6? And I mean, this Blazers team, they're deep. Tumani Kamara has been a revolution for them. Grant's good. Ayton's great. Anthony Simons. Like, man, here's the biggest thing. You and I talked about the other night, and we were like, Kevin Durant played well. Devin Booker played well. And guess what? The rest of the team didn't do anything. Well, tonight, Booker had 34. Kevin Durant had 27. Beal had 25. Allen had 11. 14 from Royce O'Neal. The bench came to play, and they still lost. And if you're not winning these offensive firepowered games against Anthony Simons and DeAndre Ayton, who are good players, but not to the level of some of the guys that we have.
Yeah, I mean, this
I don't know,
team
man.
shot 45% from the field, the Blazers. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not even like
they weren't even
did
amazing.
It in some kind of efficient, no one
Simons
guy
was 4 for
went
15.
off. Yeah, I mean, Avdia had a really good first quarter, obviously. But like, I think we can maybe close out by returning back to the going small thing, because that was, I think, like the story of the game, the adjustment that if they won, you probably would look at it and say, good job. If they lost, but then it was also how they lost, right? And I think I honestly, like, Ayton had the one lob dunk kind of in that broken play. But other than that, for most of the fourth quarter, actually felt like it worked. Like, that pull-up three that Simons had over KD, like, that's not really a mismatch. He just hit a tough shot. I mentioned the KD block on the three. I thought on the offensive end, Beal and Grayson kind of in that weird spot that Bud will station them a lot of the time along the baseline, like as if they're a center when they do play small. I thought that actually worked. Both of those guys made some plays, acting like basically big men, even though they're not. It was kind of working. But then when you see it not work, even in a couple possessions where they go big again with Plumlee, the one nitpick I think is fair to put in there is why was Ryan Dunn not on the court? Like we can talk about Nick Richards versus Plumlee or even just the idea of going small in the first place, but if we just say they're going to go small, I would tell you almost 10 times out of 10 Ryan Dunn needs to be one of the 5 guys on the court there. Especially, I mean, he's a better rebounder than most of the players on this team. He's obviously going to just be physical. If you're talking about defense and you're switching, he can be versatile. Like, what's the case for Ryan Dunn to not be on the court? He didn't have a great game in his 12 minutes, but it's not like he killed him. He just wasn't really effective. Why do you not put him out there?
I had a lot of the same questions you did. The only thing I could get to was Allen was a threat to hit an open 3 in this game, and he was playing fine. But I agree with you. Dunn came in when we knew that it was going to be just for a quick defensive set, and then he was going to get pulled right out of the game, and it just can't happen, man. Like that, Bud is escaping a lot of blame for me, and he will all season long because I've been blaming coaches for the past couple of seasons. I'm so over it. And so with Bud, his rotations don't make a lot of sense at times, but the issue is this team hasn't made sense over the past couple of years, so I can't just blame him.
No, that's not why they lost.
No,
it's confusing.
It's not helping. He's not the solution, but I don't think he's the problem. I think the problem is culturally with this team. It's why like I think about what you said last night, and it's really been etched in my brain where I'm like, maybe you do just need to do a hard reset. Not with Book. I'm not trading Book, and we'll get to that in a second, but I mean, we'll get later on in the show to some of the stuff, but I'm just, that was a frustrating loss because I thought when you said your moment, we were going to win. And I was like, okay, we're going to push off this conversation a little bit longer. And it just didn't. And it just the way they lost too was Grant getting blocked and then dunking the ball. I mean, that's
not like an encapsulation of
that's exactly
Suns,
what I thought.
Right? Like one effort on the defensive end, but then you get crushed by the little stuff anyway. You know, it's like that's kind of it right there.
It's like, why try?
We'll do a little more positive. Very cool moment for Devin Booker. A moment, a decade in the making that we have watched every moment on our way to this one. And then we'll get to some stranger things in the trade market. The grapevine next. First, today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. What are some of your relationship green flags? We often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but what if we focus more on identifying the positive signs in our relationships? Those green flags. If you're not sure what they look like, well, therapy can help you to identify them, actively practice them, and even embody that green flag energy yourself. So whether you're dating out on the market, you're married, building a friendship, or just working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that love you back. Again, I say this every time. BetterHelp is big on it. You do not have to be in an emergency. You do not have to be in the most traumatic moment of your whole life. It can just be about developing boundaries, communication skills. Again, developing those green flags with other people or even just with yourself. Do things that make yourself happy. I know that sounds weird, but we don't always do that. BetterHelp makes it easy by offering online therapy. Over 30,000 therapists to choose from. You can switch at any time at no additional cost to you. So, discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Alrighty, Ben, let's keep it rolling here. Don't forget to sign up for the Locked On Suns daily newsletter if you have not already at LockedOnDaily.com. Free for you. Awesome content. Supports us big time. We appreciate it. Okay. So, in the third quarter of this game with his mother, father, brother, sister, all around, Devin Booker made a 3 from the left wing on an assist from Nick Richards. I believe it was the 7:34 mark of the game. And did what we've been waiting this whole season for, Ben, but really since we really kind of knew this dude was legit, we've been waiting for this. He became the all-time leading scorer, passing Walter Davis. And he's only 28. It's kind of crazy when you throw that aspect of this in here. 10-year career, but only 28 years old. And that's kind of what adds up to becoming a franchise all-timer for the Phoenix Suns. What did you think when it kind of finally happened and we saw this dude who was a babyface kid not too long ago do the damn thing?
I thought it was a really cool moment, and I also thought it was really cool for the Trailblazers to honor him in that moment, and he got a little bit of a standing ovation. Then they went immediately right back to booing him. It was that clear respect, but you're not ours as soon as it was done, which I really loved as well. And his parents were there. There was a decent amount of Suns fans there. Really sucked that they couldn't get a win in this game to um have that token of what happened in that game. But, Booker is a really special player, man. And it couldn't be more timely with the Luka Doncic trade and just having a
I
guy
thought that
that's
same exact
yours.
thing.
It's so timely. And to be able to, it's given me a new appreciation for Devin Booker because as terrible as this season has gone, I don't think it's because Devin Booker for the first part, yes, of the season, he wasn't amazing, but he's clearly turned it around the last 15 games. He's been awesome. He has given me a new appreciation for him that he's ours. And just like how Larry Fitzgerald was ours, just like how Luis Gonzalez somehow sneaks in there, but he's ours as well. Shane Doan for the hockey fans. Booker's ours. He's clearly on the Mount Rushmore. I'm not so sure if he's yet the greatest son of all time, but I do think he will be. Just when you add Steve Nash's 2 MVPs and the multiple playoff runs he had, I still think maybe Nash edges him just a bit for now, but there's no doubt in my mind he will go down as the greatest son, especially since he's 28 years old. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. So, what are your thoughts on some of the things I had to say? I mean, did this put him as the greatest son of all time? What was the moment like for you? Where was it on,
Yeah.
did it land for you?
Yeah, I'm kind of where you're at with the greatest son thing. I think that you kind of look at it with Nash, and that's obviously the other one where he sort of had, like, we're in a 5-year peak for Book if you start with the year that Chris got here. You
Hmm.
could go the year before if you wanted to, but they didn't even make the playoffs. And, Nash had '04 to like '07. It was kind of 3 seasons of the absolute peak, and then they re-peaked in 2010. So, and then you
Hmm.
obviously had the first time around here that is even another weird kind of chapter to it. So, I would say, maybe Book has a little way to go, but we also know that's coming. So it's almost like you could just start calling it him that now, and would just skip to the point, or you could, make him earn it a little more. Whatever. We're gonna be there soon. But I think what was going through my head is, and I have had, honestly, it's a privilege. I mean, I've basically been doing this podcast almost his whole career, and I've gotten to wax poetic about the huge 3-point explosion against the Clippers, or the triple double against the Lakers, back-to-back 40-point games, looking like freaking Michael Jordan in 2023. I mean, all of it. And I think it's absolutely what you said, that it means something to have all of those moments be in one place for one fan base, and the fact that we can all recite them like the back of our hand is the point. That's the point, that they all are in our memories. You know what I mean? And like, they flashed the graphic, Ben, on the screen during the game of the 3 active players who have their franchise's record. It's Steph, it's Giannis, and it's Book. That's,
Mm,
those guys have MVP trophies,
mm.
rings, everything else, but that's its own kind of hallowed ground in the league to be able to say that you did that. And it's not too far off in terms of points. I mean, Steph's in another stratosphere, but Book getting this record, it's not like it was like a low bar.
Mm-mm.
15,668 is higher than the Raptors record, the Pelicans record, the Grizzlies record, the Clippers record, the Hornets, the Nets. Like, it's up there. And like, if I just list off some of these guys for these teams that are even in the names, even of the teams I just listed that are lower than him, you're talking about Mike Conley. You're talking about, DeMar in Toronto. You're talking about AD in New Orleans.
DeRozan,
Okay.
really?
But, in the same kind of area, Isaiah Thomas in Detroit only has 2,500 more points than Book, 3,000, something like that. Like, the point I'm making is we associate those dudes with a real lifelong bond with that place and a real stratosphere of greatness. And Book's already there. And like that should hit people pretty hard. This is really a big moment, even though it came on the road and like you said, not in the best season we can think of. Like this is a very, very cool piece of history that he gets and that we've all gotten to experience with him.
Two things about it. One, the Walter Davis aspect. I'm like, man, that would have been cool if he could have been there to witness that and pass that torch. I always think that's really cool. Kind of wish Al McCoy could have been there in that moment too, because he saw him grow. It was a rare bright spot in what has been a really tumultuous season. And I got to be honest with you, and like I say things sometimes, and I just don't care. Like I have an opinion. People don't like it sometimes. If the Suns, and we'll get to in a second, traded Kevin Durant, just blanketed traded Kevin Durant, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of frustrating. Like I wouldn't be upset that Kevin Durant is no longer on the Suns. Like I love watching Durant. He's great, but he's never felt like ours. If Devin Booker were to ever get traded, and I think it's very likely he doesn't finish his career with the Suns because Dwayne Wade didn't. 36 years old, maybe he just goes somewhere else. I don't know. At any point, it would just suck to see him go. Because he's a piece of Phoenix, man. Like he is Phoenix. So, man, it's that the whole Luka and then this today has really changed my perspective of like maybe I'm okay with just being the 7th seed with Booker for a while because I don't want to lose the guy. But that's where I was at.
He's got you all sappy. We got another bright spot coming.
I think I'm just tired.
That's fair. I'm sappy too. I'm not saying just you. And that bright spot coming up will be KD, 30,000 points. That will be in a couple of weeks or
potentially
maybe
against
less.
the Thunder. Potentially against the Thunder.
So
he'd have to have like an explosion. Now I think about it.
I think
it was
he's
50.
a little further than that.
No, I thought he was 53.
Weeks, probably not. Is it 53? Okay. So
I thought he was 53. Oh yeah, so we had 27 tonight.
Oh, is it that close?
50.
He's only 26
yeah.
away. Oh, I thought.
Yeah,
I thought it was longer than that. Okay.
The only reason, so I'm not gonna act like I knew that. I was watching pregame PHNX today, and they said that he was 53 away because someone in the chat got mad at them for not acknowledging that KD was getting close to 30,000, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you guys?
No comment.
So.
I will then. It will probably happen against the Thunder, which is crazy and its own kind of serendipitous moment. But let's get to KD and the latest rumors, courtesy of one Jake Fisher that started a news cycle on Monday that is making Suns fans' heads spin, I believe. We'll get there to close things out next. First, Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Get in now. Tuesday night, VCU men's basketball hosting LaSalle. This is one of the biggest favorites that I've ever seen here. Minus 3,500. Get the bonus bets. Have some fun at Super Bowl 59. Don't sweat the bonus bet the day of. You want to get it in the bag and then have some fun when Sunday comes around. Download the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, Ben, let's close it out here. So this came down first thing on Monday via Jake Fisher. Trying to pull up. I actually am a subscriber to the Stein line where Jake Fisher is now writing because I did a report on him for Awful Announcing, wanted to support him. I can read the actual report, though, which is the most important part of that for our show here. And the wording was, there are certainly teams, Ben, Golden State chief among them, that have inquired whether that stance could change. Okay, sorry. This is about the Lakers and LeBron. And then later on, the path to Durant alone does seem plausible. Phoenix, entering Monday's business, continued to signal that it does not plan to move Durant before the deadline, sources said. But this is the important part. The Suns are believed to be listening at the very least to various teams' pitches for the 35-year-old scoring legend. Durant, meanwhile, is said to be aware of all this. The Suns are expected to maintain a very high asking price before they ever agree to part ways with him. We're talking serious draft capital and highly rated young talent. The last line here is, the Suns do have a level of interest in Jonathan Kuminga, sources said. What did you make of that when you saw it come through, Ben?
One giant eye roll. Okay. Of course they're taking calls. Why wouldn't they? I mean, they just lost back-to-back game. Now, this was before this, but they just lost back-to-back game to the Trailblazers. Like the Suns, if they're not, now I'm not saying to trade Kevin Durant. Don't just trade Kevin Durant to trade Kevin Durant. Hold a high asking price. And if someone blows you away with what is 10 times better than the Luka Doncic deal, then you take it. Sure. But yeah, why wouldn't teams be calling the Suns? They see that they're flailing. The only person that doesn't see that is Ishbia and James Jones, and that's why they want to triple, quadruple down.
Well, or
no.
do they? If they're listening to this, maybe they're not wanting to double or quadruple
I don't think that
down.
I think listening is sure. Like it's like
yeah, but it's like a difference, right? Because I mean, obviously the thing that is the difference between now and last summer when they were not listening, when I've ranted about the whole Rockets nonsense a bunch of times, is we're now halfway through this season and it hasn't gone as planned. So, like, obviously I get that. But it is different to last summer, this burbled up, and Matt Ishbia released a statement on the record saying they were not listening. Now they're listening. I mean, that's pretty substantial, even if we can understand how we got here.
There's a few things to it that I just don't understand. I think the Warriors' interest is a little overblown. Is a team of Kevin Durant and Steph Curry without Kuminga, and I'm assuming it's a bunch of picks and players, probably prods would probably be in there too. Like, do they really think they could compete? I mean,
let me say on that note real quick, it's actually really hard to make a deal work. I messed around with it in the trade machine just to see today, and they don't have players who make a lot of money. That's an issue with the Warriors.
It would have to be Wiggins and Pods and Kuminga.
Well, Pods makes no money, so money-wise, he doesn't help things at all. That's what's part of the difficulty. You have to add so many players together to get up to, because Wiggins only makes $26 million. Steph's the only player who makes in the max range.
Yeah.
Draymond's only at 24. The way that I got to it was like Wiggins, Gary Payton, Kuminga, and Looney or something like that. But also that's not a great package, like, because Pods isn't in it, Moody's not in it. But then you
have
can't
to pay
have
Kuminga.
a 6-player trade. You can't. Oh, we want your young guys too. Okay, well they don't make enough money, so then that can't really be in the trade. So anyway, point being, I think it would probably have to be a 3-teamer if this ever were to get close. I agree with you somewhat that the Warriors maybe wouldn't be a contender right away with it, but obviously they're one of the only teams I could see it making sense to do it in season because they don't have to worry about any kind of adaptation period because they know how that's going to work. They know how that's going to fit, right? But the Warriors package being weak is one of the reasons that I was a pretty skeptical when I saw it. They don't have a lot to give.
My whole thing was the listening thing is, if I owned a house, I mean, it would be, yeah, I'm listening to offers. You want to blow me away and spend $1 million on my house that's worth $500,000? Sure. But outside of that, I'm not looking to move. I think that's what it is for the Suns right now. I don't think that they're looking to move, but sure. If you want to blow our socks off and overpay, sure, we'll do it. Let me ask you this. Do you think he gets traded?
I would say no, just because
I would say 100%.
What evidence do we really have that to say yes?
I would say no shot. No shot.
Yeah. But here's the thing. We talked about that clip from KD at practice the other day. It was like a month ago now that he said it.
I still think about that clip.
Yeah, and what he said, to summarize, if anyone missed us talking about it or missed it online, was like the he was kind of encouraging like the media there to not think about like something like, being capped out or running out of draft picks or things like that, or you know an acquisition. He didn't say Beal, but let's just say Beal or Ayton trades not working as like a failure, but more so like the process and the trying is the point when you're trying to win. And just because it fails doesn't mean that the whole idea of it is bad. And I kind of have, I don't know if it's like that he convinced me or anything, but I definitely feel like that is where I'm at with this team, where you just see the Book and KD thing through. I don't know what that looks like exactly. I don't know how many more years until one of them is ready to go. Obviously, KD is only under contract for one more season beyond this. We don't know what the future will look like after that. And, a playoff failure, missing the playoffs can change people's happiness levels and all that stuff. But even with that said, and I think that's where the Suns are right now, if you were to ask them. But what I think is that they are running up against that is like worth keeping in mind the rest of the week is they're so all in that they have to keep going more, right? Where it's like you can't see it through by just like you said with Book. Maybe it's possible because he's only 28. Just let him be a 6 seed for a few years. Maybe try to get some interesting young players. And if he can make a run when he's 31 and he's still around, great. That's not an option with Kevin Durant. And so I think that's part of, it's not that KD's unhappy. It's not that, they're hopeless. They hate the team, any of this stuff. But it's like, it's not working. And you either got to make it work or reconsider everybody involved if the seeing it through is maybe ending sooner than we would have thought, right? Like that's, I don't know if I'm fully making sense, but that's kind of what I think the mental math has to kind of be for Matt Ishbia and James Jones right now, is like, is it practical to keep trying with this? Not because everybody's unhappy. Like that's everybody wants, when you see this, it's like KD wants out. No, I don't think so. But what's the pathway? That's kind of where I think the questions start to come up. Because how are you improving this team in the summer if you don't get Jimmy? Let's say you get some random wing or something, and you just go forward and you probably don't do much in the playoffs. It's not like the summer is opening up a lot of new possibilities for you. Right? So anyway, that's a lot, but that's what I thought about when I saw this come up.
I agree with you. I think they're just going to see it through. The only way, and I'm not even talking money. I don't care about the money, just for sake of argument. The only way I would do a Kevin Durant deal is 3 firsts, maybe 2 firsts, a second, Kuminga, Pods, who hasn't been good this year, Wiggins, GP2. I'd have to see a lot come over here, but none of that, like even that doesn't, like, I'm good. I'm kind of out on the Kuminga's interesting, but you have to pay him. And I just think if he was already going to be that star player, he already would be by now. And I don't want to be in that predicament where I overpay a guy and it's the Beal situation. So I see why the Warriors might want KD, but I don't know why the Suns would do it. No, it doesn't make any sense. So
I don't think Golden State has enough for it. If we were to even entertain the possibility, I just don't
honestly,
think it's them.
I would be, if the Suns had more draft picks, I would believe more so that Steph would go to the Suns. Like if the Suns had the capital, like that would make more sense than KD going to the Warriors. Not that ever either is going to happen at all. That's not Steph. Sometimes people like to hear what I say literally and just no, Steph is not coming to the Suns. That makes no sense. Just throw that out there.
What I will bet everybody listening is if sometime between now and Thursday, if not after, depending on whatever happens, the conversation around Kevin Durant's extension. We've been talking Jimmy for 2 months. Whether they get Jimmy or not, the conversation will become the Kevin Durant extension. That is the next thing that the Suns will be consumed by, and we'll all be talking about. All right, that'll wrap us up. Hit follow, subscribe if you have not already. We will be back with you tomorrow as the trade deadline ticks nearer and nearer. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll talk to you then.